So it sounds like 1998 seemed to be a pretty epic year for many folks who've talked, because my story starts with 1998. I was a college student at Colorado State University, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is almost in Wyoming, but not quite, but politically pretty much so in Wyoming. So in 1998, I was a college student, and I was in a band. It was a worship team, actually. I was a Christian worship rocker, yay. And yeah, it's okay, I was the drummer. So I feel, yeah, you know, we'll all get there together. And as we were practicing one day in what we like to call the practice room, AKA the garage, we got a phone call. And as the phone rang, our worship team leader got up and came back about 5 minutes later, and we all kind of sat around the room talking a little bit, and she said, "Hey, I just got a phone call and we've been asked to pray." Not that unusual, actually. We've been asked to pray a lot. It's what we do. We're Christians and we're a college group. We pray. So we all sit down and we start praying, and she says, well, the call was for a young man that's been found across the Wyoming border up on a mountaintop, and he's been found beaten. And we need to pray because, you know, we need to get his healing. And so we start praying and praying and praying, and then all of a sudden she says, I gotta tell you guys something. He's gay. So all of a sudden, the energy in the room changes. And rather than praying for this young man's healing, all of a sudden we start praying to heal him, not physically, but heal him from being gay. And all of a sudden, my body just starts to say, this is not where I should be. This is not right. Fast forward 2 years later, and I'm standing in the Tetons, and I'm crying out to God, take my gay away. I journeyed up that mountain with a burden from 2 years before, a burden that said, gay is not okay. You are not okay. This is not where you should be. This is not who you should be. And as I journeyed up that mountain, I thought of all of my friends and family over the last few years that had said to me, you're great. Just be who you are, but you can't be gay. I thought of my friends who I said, I love you. You're phenomenal, but you shouldn't be gay. And as I stood on that mountaintop, I cried out to God, God, I need a sign that it is okay that I am gay. And of course, the rainbow showed up and the unicorn came down. Of course it did, because that's how God works. No, not so much. So I sat there and I kept waiting. A, I wanted the rainbow, and B, I wanted the unicorn to take me off that mountain. Whew, it was a long hike up. So I sat there for a little while longer, and I said, okay, God, here's the deal. I really honestly need a sign. I grew up in a Christian household. My father is a minister, and let's be perfectly honest, my mother is actually the wife of a minister, which is actually kind of worse than a minister. Just saying. Love you, Mom, if you see this. Love you. But there's a lot around that. And as I was standing on that mountaintop, I was debating and fighting God and figuring out, you know, what's okay. And then I just kept coming to the phrases of, you know, God creates us in his own perfect image. And then I looked at my body and I said, well, I'm not a he, but maybe I'm just spirit. And maybe that's okay. And maybe spirit doesn't have to be what they tell us is in this black book. And as I stood on that mountaintop and then I started to journey down, I kept arguing with God. Is it okay? Is it not okay? Is this trial that I'm on the right path? And then I looked at my map and I said, oh no, I think it's the right path. I got to get back to camp. Yeah, that's the right path. So get back to camp. So as I'm getting down the mountain and getting back to camp, I fight so much with God. And I say, I am who I am. And if you created me in your perfect being, then it is what it's supposed to be. I get in my truck and I start driving home from the Tetons. And I'm thinking, this is going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting because I live in a household of Christian women. And as I pull up into the driveway, I think to myself, how do I do this? How do I tell these people that I had this amazing moment on the mountain with the unicorn? And then I remember, no, it wasn't the unicorn. I was just dehydrated. It's okay. So, but how do I tell these women that I have met myself in the wilderness? And I have not only met myself, but I've met my God. And I fought with my God, and I fought with myself, and that I'm okay, and that who I was created as is perfectly perfect in every way. So I come up with this big speech, as I'm going to say, as I walk in the door, because, of course, when we find out we're gay, we want to scream it out to everyone. I walk in the door, and I realize, I don't know if I can do this, because we're getting ready to go to a wedding. So maybe not the best time to just, blurt it out there, hey! So I'm standing in the bathroom, and while I was gone, we actually got a new housemate that had moved in. And I'm standing in the bathroom, and I'm getting my hair done, and all of a sudden, this woman walks past the bathroom door. And my mind and my heart and my body go, oh. And then I remember I had asked for a sign. And let me tell you, he didn't miss the mark on that one. So as I watch this woman walk past the door, I realize this is going to be awesome, dangerous, scary, and all of the above. And we go to the wedding. I promise I didn't come out before the wedding. I waited for a while. I come back home from the wedding, and this woman and I become fast friends. And not only fast friends, but I'm going to guess that you already know what happens. We become really good friends, as we like to say. And such good friends that she had already had the U-Haul. It was perfect. So for those of you who, talk about the second date, she was already in there before the first date. So it was awesome. So this gal and I start talking, and we realize, A, we're Christian, B, we're lesbians, and C, we really like each other. So we start spending a lot more time together. And one night we decide that we're going to drive up into the mountains, and we're going to watch this asteroid shower. And again, we're talking, and as we're talking, we're struggling with how is it okay to be who we are and love who we're falling in love with. And as we're sitting under the stars in the back of my pickup truck, that also should have been a sign, pickup truck, just saying. In the back of my pickup truck, the asteroids are coming through, and we're sitting there, and this one isn't made up. I look at her, and I feel like I am closer to God than I've ever been in my entire life. I didn't need to be on some other mountaintop looking for the answers, but the answer was right next to me in the body of someone who I could love. I realized at that moment in time that God wasn't that dude in the book, but he was love, and he was love between you and me and everyone. And as I look back on that time, I realized that love doesn't just flow between two people, but it really flows between all of us. And that God isn't defined by one being, one book, one color, one anything, but that God is all of the color. He is all of the rainbow. And as Rachel and I talked for hours, we talked about what we wanted our future to be. And I shared with her a story of being in that garage, AKA the practice room, and praying someone else's gay away. And I said to her, my future prayer is that young man on the mountain, Matthew Shepard, realized that as the dawn broke, that there was maybe just a glimmer of a rainbow and a glimmer of God in Technicolor Dreamcoat, that was there for him, and that we can all stand here during Pride Week and raise our flag high with all of the colors, acknowledging all of God and all of us, and saying love and equality should be raised high and prevail from today, tomorrow, and through the next generations.